Surprise.
We are together in person.
How exciting.
Finally. We've gotten together this weekend because Christine was going to be on the East Coast. So
I thought, gotta come by, see Mags, and we're creating some incredible content and things for you guys right now. It's been a really amazing couple of days, and we figured, why wait till Monday when I'm back where I need to be? We'll just do our live together and make it a fun experience.
Yeah. So today we're talking about something very near and dear to my heart. It's that we're really busting this myth of willpower. And the reason I really wanted to talk about this today is because I think that so many of us, we were actually just looking it up on Google.
Yeah.
So many of us believe that the reason that we aren't successful at creating new habits or breaking old habits is because of a lack of willpower, that we don't have enough willpower, and that successful people have more willpower than we do. And that is just not the case. So we're here to bust up that myth, give you some facts about what willpower actually is, how our minds actually work, and sort of reaffirm to you that there's not something wrong with you, that you're not missing something that makes achieving your goals impossible for you. You just need different strategies, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's kind of like the theme of everything that we talk about, is there's really nothing wrong with you. like your brain, like Maggie talks about all the time, she does a lot of the brain science on her end, is all about, it's not programmed for this much, content coming in and all of this, just stuff around us. And so we are trying to fight all of these things that society says we should be doing. And it's just not, it makes us feel like, again, we're the ones that are broken.
Exactly.
And that's just not the case. Like burnout is the same. Like we're not broken. Burnout is there's a logical reason why we're all burning out.
And it's a diagnosable condition. Right. This is, I guess we should just start basically by defining what willpower is. I think I'm gonna come into
that's all right.
So what is willpower?
So willpower, yes, let's Google it here. Willpower is defined as the control exerted to do something or restrain impulses.
So it's this force, right? Willpower is like, think about the words, power. It is like a forceful noun.
Yeah.
And it is the force that either keeps you from doing something or gets you to do something, right? And so
the ability to control one's actions, emotions, or urges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So willpower is not to be confused with impulse control, right? These are two different things. Although they are similar, but the truth about willpower is that we all only have a certain amount of it. And as far as research suggests, it is very evenly distributed throughout everyone. So there are not people who have like vast amounts of willpower and people who have very little, whereas impulse control is a little bit different, right? So this is how they sort of diverge. So willpower is something that we do use, right? When we are trying to create new habits, when we are trying to break old habits, we do rely on willpower a little bit, but it is not, if we are relying on willpower exclusively, we are setting ourselves up for failure. And you can see this, right? So say you're trying to eat less sugar and you have boxes of cookies in the kitchen, or you're trying to cut back on drinking and yet you have bottles of wine in the fridge.
It's a lot of temptation, Max.
Exactly. All around you, right? And so we think, oh, well, I should just have the willpower to not eat the cookies or eat the sugar or drink the wine. And the truth of the matter is this doesn't work.
No.
While you may be able to use the willpower that you have, which is not that much, you guys, for a little while, it's not going to sustain you. And so the real difference between people who are successful and not successful at creating new habits and breaking old ones are that they have figured out a way to surround themselves with fewer temptations, so that they aren't constantly encountering situations where they're needing to use this force of willpower.
Yeah. I mean, think of it this way. When we've all heard that we become like the 5 most people were around. So you are going to create your habits around the things that you have around you. And basically you need to build the life around you that you want you to become, essentially the growth that you're trying to progress into. And so if you don't, if you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to be healthier, maybe don't have sugar in the house. Like my husband and I, like, we don't buy sugar, like we don't buy cookies, cakes, all that stuff, because I will eat them. I will eat them all. And I already know it's not like Maggie said, it's not about the willpower. It's about the temptation. And I just won't have it in my house. If you're trying to, work out more, maybe like instead of walking a certain way to work or driving to work, maybe drive past the gym. So you kind of have to stop, like you want to set up your life in a way that, just like setting yourself up for the, becoming the person you want to be by setting yourself up with those types of friends, the type of situations and circumstances in your life need to reflect the kind of person you want to become.
100%. And like with habits, with bad habits and with good habits, or, we try to stay away from like the bad, good binary, but with like supportive habits and unsupportive habits, you want to increase friction for the things that you don't want to do, right? The things that you want to change.
Which means, just for those who don't understand, is making it harder for you. Right.
So taking away the temptations, get the wine out of the house, right? And then for the things that you want to begin doing, you want to decrease friction. So going off the gym example, you want to maybe sleep in your gym clothes if you want to wake up first thing and go for a run. You want to have your bag already packed. You want to have the meditation picked out that you're going to do in the morning. You want to do all this prep work the night before starting a morning routine, for example. So that's decreasing friction for the things you want to start, and then increasing friction for the things that you want to get rid of. And this really helps to solve this problem of willpower. So I learned this, and this is mind-boggling. Chess players burn up to 6,000 calories during a single match. Now, a typical human is supposed to eat around 2,000 calories a day to be in like calorie neutral, right? We use about that much, we eat about that much, okay? 6,000, that's 3 times more.
In one match.
That's
crazy.
From simple brain function alone. So our minds are primed to be in this sort of like kind of hypnotic, habitual state. When our brains habitualize something, it creates just an automatic process that uses far less energy than thinking about something. And so we don't want to use willpower. Our brains don't want to be using intense amounts of energy. Biologically, it doesn't make sense for us. It means we have to kill more food and eat more food, and look, we're functioning on biology that's like, hundreds of thousands of years old, because that's how long it takes for us to evolve. So our brain doesn't want to put forth a lot of effort. Most animals don't want to put forth a lot of effort. That's just how we are. When you're walking to the fridge, do you walk around in like 10 circles before you get there? Like you walk directly to it.
Right. So there's a purpose.
Exactly. So our brains don't want to be expending all this energy, and that's what willpower is. And so that's why we just simply cannot keep up with it. It's not sustainable.
Well, and going back to the definition of like resisting the urge, you know what I mean? I feel like, again, it's going back to what we were talking about of like our brains are designed to seek pleasure and things that we enjoy. And I think also our society goes against that. Like, I mean, it does both, actually. I think it goes against that when we're trying to like, you have to look a certain way. So resist the brownies, you have to do this. So resist this, whatever. But then it also uses that weakness against us in consumerism. So like, we know you want the brownies, so we're going to make them look super wonderful in this commercial, and we're going to sell them as a 50% off if you buy the burger or whatever,
like I heard Subway like pumps bread smells out onto the streets.
God, I believe that. That's hilarious.
But it's the same thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is that like, we shouldn't be, what we're trying to teach is not just the concept of having more by doing less, but it's also the concept of just enjoying your life more, right? Creating more joy in your life. And your brain already knows what joy is. And we fight that joy sensation because of judgment, right? people pleasing, fear of rejection, all of these things that we don't feel like we're enough if we don't, follow the trends of what's popular or what I should look like or what I should sound like or whatever. And I just don't think we should be putting emphasis on resisting urges and trying to create this willpower. Like that's going to create success, because like Maggie said, it's just not that we have so little of that yes, we can create our life of how we want to build it and grow and be a successful person, whatever that looks like for you. So if that means that maybe eating less sugar, maybe working out more, maybe, hanging out with, more influential people, whatever that is. But it also means like, what do you actually want to, like, what do you enjoy? If you like what you look like, then eat the brownies, man.
Right. That's totally it.
Like, who cares?
Yeah. I think we use that as an example a lot too, but like we were just talking about this. I was like, well, I'm eating the brownie. So I don't care because that's not a goal of mine. And I like don't care about that. But I think what you're touching on too is something really important. Like when we use this concept of willpower, we're thinking about breaking ourselves. We're thinking about like beating ourselves. Like we are an opponent that we need to destroy, that there is something wrong with us, and that by using sheer force we can break the biology that's like happening inside of us. And the truth of the matter is a large part of our brain and several different components of it and total networks are programmed for us to seek pleasures. So seeking the brownie, seeking the extra sleep, right? Seeking out these rewards.
Well, just ease. Like when you were talking, it just even saying force, strength, like all of that stuff, like that's not natural. That's not our natural state of being. We want to be in a natural state of ease. We don't like to be high functioning anxiety. We don't like to be stressed out. We don't like to be overwhelmed. Like that's very, it's too much.
It's jarring to our system.
It's jarring. Yeah. So we're looking for more relaxation, peace, ease, pleasure, those types of things. And everything about the concept of willpower and resisting those things goes against what our nature and our biology.
Right. And so I was just having a conversation with my partner the other day, like one of our like 2 a.m. like, bro, what about this? Like thinking about like society. And I was just thinking there's so many things that are unnatural about society. And he was like, how is it unnatural? We are part of nature. And what we create is natural because we are part of this order. And like, I was pushing back at some of that, but we naturally as humans create society. There are lots of things that we naturally do. Our brains naturally do things. And to think that those things are wrong is a way that we punish ourselves and that we like feel that we're not worthy and feel that we are less than, feel that we are inadequate. And the truth is, and the work that we do together is really figuring out how is my brain working? How is it working? Let me take a look inside and see what's actually happening so that I can create systems that work with my brain, with what's going on, instead of trying to shut it down altogether. You cannot shut down nature, cannot shut it down. But you can learn how to work with it. And that's the work that we do. And again, why we wanted to come on and talk about this specifically, because if you are relying on willpower alone, you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, let's kind of dive deep into what's about to happen here. We've got, I think someone said the other day, like 40 something days until 2022. So everyone's getting ready for new vision boards, New Year's resolutions, that kind of thing. And, all the gyms are going to start doing membership, discounts and all that stuff. And so we're about to go into this giant, we're about to feast, right? Thanksgiving, Christmas, and everyone's going to kind of like lose track of, we're going to be around a lot of families. So mental health is going to struggle.
And traveling,
you're going to eat a lot, all those things. So a lot of your habits are broken at the end of the year. And then start January, everyone's like, okay, I had my fun, ready to jump back on the train. And we discuss a lot about how in February, half of those people, if not more, just fall off. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, well, I guess I'll get it next year. Or they try again halfway through the year or whatever. And the reason for them dropping off is, again, this concept of willpower, thinking that like, I should be strong enough to maintain this goal. But they're just relying on something that has nothing to back it up.
Right.
There's no strategy, no plan. No,
it's force.
It's all
just
force.
Pure force.
There's no plan for execution. There's no tactics, habit building, sustainability to anything that they're doing. They're just like, I'm going to set a resolution and I should be able to do it.
Right. And this is like, let me just paint y'all a very visual picture here. I'm 32, almost 33. I am 5'5" and a half. I will never be able to dunk a basketball. It doesn't matter how much I want to and how much I will it to be. I can't. I'm not going to be able to do it. And like, that's the same thing. It's like, we can't use sheer force.
Right.
When finesse is required.
Yeah.
We cannot just force things that go directly against our nature for any extended period of time. And I know I might hear some of you out there thinking like, well, I have like forced this to happen and it has worked. It's like, is it still working? Like we can do
and how
anything.
Do you feel after that?
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing is like, I know for me, when I have tried to force a career path or force a relationship with someone who is not ready, or force myself to be ready for something that I just threw you end up this imposter syndrome, this fake it till you make it concept. And I just don't feel good after it, or the outcome isn't what I expected it to be.
Yep.
And that's because the universe wasn't sending me in that direction. And maybe I was like, no, this is my path. Right. Versus when I maybe got lost along the way and I fell into something else. And there was so much ease. I mean, we just talked about this last night about how there was so much ease with us coming together. We have both built so much on our own. And then we literally connected through a podcast episode. And then we were like, we just kept seeking the next opportunity to talk and collaborate. And everything we've done up to this point, the last, 5 months has been completely out of ease.
Right.
And those are the things, and we're building something here that like we've both wanted to build for so long. And we tried to force it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've tried to force it before.
It didn't work.
It just never worked. I couldn't find the right partner. I couldn't find the right, curriculum ideas. That just wasn't enough. I couldn't find the time to do it. I couldn't find, the consistency showing up in the content. Like, we don't even feel like it's hard to show up here online every week. It's like a part of what the universe is working through us to bring this message along. And I feel like when you work with that ease, no matter like Maggie said, there are people out there saying, well, I can force things, I can make it happen and it works. But again, like I question, how do you feel after that? I can tell you it's so much more rewarding on this end.
Right.
Because the stuff I've done in my past that I've tried to force, it never felt like this.
Yeah. And I think we've changed like the way that we work together. We intentionally remind ourselves constantly of like what we are teaching and what we are creating.
Yeah, for ourselves. It's a constant reminder to our own.
Like we give ourselves breaks.
Yeah.
If we need to change the date, we change the date. We're not forcing this because we don't want it. We don't want to create a false product where we're forcing something and then telling you guys
not to force. Yeah.
But I think that it doesn't feel good for one, and it's not sustainable. And that's our whole focus is how do we create sustainable change? Because I don't know about you, I've been successful at creating a month or two of change in my life before. And then you go back to the same old shit. And it's just like, you feel worse. It feels worse than before. And after enough times of that feeling worse, you stop trying.
Yeah.
And we really want to pull you out of that spot and remind you that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, and that you just haven't found the right strategy yet. And so before we wrap up here, I want to give you another little research study to just remind you that it is not just your brain. This is how the brains work. So when you are using willpower alone, you're basically telling yourself, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Or do that, do that, do that, do that, do that. And especially with the don't do that part. And our bad habits are hard ones to break because they're already hardwired. You're saying, don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. And so Wagner ran a white bear experiment. He told his subjects to not think of the white bear. Whatever they did, don't think of the white bear. And then he engaged them in like normal conversation. And they had a little buzzer. And every time they thought of the white bear, they had to press the buzzer. And obviously, people who were not prompted to not think of the white bear never thought of the white bear.
Right.
but the people who were thought of it consistently,
Mhm.
even though they were told not to think about it. Well, when you're telling yourself not to do something, what are you doing? You're thinking about it.
Right.
And so,
Because your brain doesn't really know the difference
Right.
between do and don't.
And don't.
It just is thinking about the subject.
About it.
Yeah.
Totally. And so repression becomes obsession, right? It becomes something that we just get totally obsessed with.
Right.
And that is, again, why this doesn't work. So instead, we suggest a couple of different strategies for creating sustainable change. One, yes, you're going to need a little willpower. You're going to need a kick in the ass to get started, especially on things that are hard to do. And we'll talk about this at another time, the difference between type 1 pleasures, which is like orgasms, like brownies and ice cream and delicious food and like a cozy nap, these like very easy, effortless pleasures, and type 2 pleasures, which are like building a business, writing a book, doing these like, you know, getting up for an early morning workout, climbing a mountain, these things that are not fun to start with, but that are very rewarding in the end. So you do need a little bit of willpower to get your ass out of bed,
to get the motor started.
Right. To start, just to start. It is like, think about, you know, how an engine in a car works, right? It's like, you just need that little push, and then you're good to go. You're just rolling.
And that's what it's for. That's what the willpower is for. You said we have so little of it.
Right.
It's meant to just be for the starter.
Right.
And then the strategies are what for the longevity and the consistency of the task.
Right. So for breaking the bad ones,
get
it out of your house. Whatever, if you want to get the alcohol out of your house, the cigarettes out of your house,
the sugar,
get them out, right? Whatever.
Trash it.
Exactly.
Give it away.
Seriously, do whatever, dump it down the toilet, whatever you need to do. And don't replace it.
Well, that's the thing. Like as much as like and you'll see my husband when we go to the grocery store, I see all the cookies. I smell them all. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, that looks so good. I don't buy it. Like, as much as I want to put it in the cart, there's a part of me that also knows that once I get it, now that I've not eaten sugar for so long and I just do a little bit at a time, I don't even want that much anymore. I think it's going to taste so good. And then I put it in the cart, I get it. And then like 2 cookies in, I'm like, why did I buy these? You know what I mean? So you can grow into a place of like, because I really thought I was never going to want chocolate. I do want it, but I don't want it as much as I used to, because I've now trained myself to.
Well, you break the urge.
I've been breaking the urge. Absolutely.
And that's another thing. So you can really ride out an urge craving. So they've mapped this out. So urges typically last for around 20 minutes, and it's like an ocean wave. So it starts slowly, peaks, and then drops off. So for these things that you really want, but you're trying to resist, this, instead of using willpower, where you're like, I'm forcing myself not to indulge this urge, you really just simply sit with presence with the urge. Say, okay, I want to whatever right now. I want to have a glass of wine, and you sit with that urge.
Talk your way through it. Yeah.
Just like, I'm feeling like, how do you feel? How is it feeling in your body? And really sit with the sensation versus trying to muscle your mind out of wanting it. Like, acknowledge that you want it. Know that it's okay that you want it, but that you don't have to indulge in the urge.
But also, like, there's billions of things on this planet, right? Things, circumstances, experiences, all that stuff. I'm sure there's something else out there that can replace that feeling. Because remember, it's not the thing that we want usually, right? The goal, the thing like that. Usually it's the feeling that we're searching for. So this thing that you want, that you're trying to not want, what feeling does that give you? And how can we replace it with something else that gives you the same feeling that is healthier for you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Well, and since we talk about food a lot, that it can be another food that you end up liking just as much, you know, over time, maybe, that can replace that craving. So when you crave this, you eat this, or when you crave this activity, you end up doing this activity instead. And I think replacement method can be something good too, because again, if you're, you know, switching in the good and the bad, or the supportive and unsupportive.
Right. And so in that, thinking about too, why am I reaching for this thing? Like, what feeling am I trying not to feel right now?
Numbing.
Or what feeling am I trying to induce? And so getting really clear on that, right? So like, okay, say somebody is trying to avoid carbs because they think that carbs are bad and that they should weigh a certain amount. Well, consider why it is that do you really think the carbs are bad? Do they actually make you bloated?
Right.
Are you actually having a reaction to them? Right. We need
Who told you carbs are bad?
Exactly.
Like, where does the root issue come from?
Right. And do you really think that you need to lose weight?
Yeah.
Or is this something that somebody else has told you? So getting clear too on like, why am I reaching towards this thing or away from this thing is like literally step one in this entire process. Like, why do I want what I say I'm wanting right now? And that's really helpful with the wine too. It's like, oh, I need to relax. Or with the cigarette, oh, I need a break. It's like, okay, well, let's figure out a different way.
There's lots of things that can give you a break. It doesn't need to be, those are just the things that you've accustomed yourself and your brain to think is relaxing.
Right.
Whether it be from an addictive substance or whatever, or something that just now you relate with pleasure and relaxing. But there's so many other things in the world that you can substitute to get that same feeling. It may not happen right away, but if you're willing to break the habit and really work towards it, you could eventually get to a point of really loving something just as much.
And once you break yourself of these sort of mindless reachings for things and kind of like numbing out, you will then be able to reintegrate and reincorporate these things into your life. So if you're kind of person
in a healthy way,
exactly, right? If you're constantly reaching for like a muffin or whatever, when you're feeling stressed out, it's a stress response. The muffin is not bad. You're numbing a stress response.
Right.
So you need to know, what is the stressor and why am I having this response and how can I cycle through my stress? And we'll talk more about that at a different time, but the muffin is not the bad thing. And I think that's what we get like caught up on too. We're like, we label things as good, bad, and evil, but it's the why. The why is the thing that we
it's not, the muffin is representing something deeper.
Exactly.
And it's not about the muffin, but we put the blame on it.
Well, and taking the muffin away doesn't solve your stress.
Right.
It doesn't fix the problem.
Yeah.
So, and right, the muffin is not the bad guy. Like, go eat the fucking muffin when you're well.
Yeah.
You know, we use a lot of these things to numb out, especially for bad habits. And so simply taking them away through willpower is not solving the reason that we're reaching for them in the first place.
For sure. Yeah. I wanted to just circle back around to just kind of the brain things you were talking about, the white bear experiment, which I thought was really interesting. I've done something recently, and I can't remember if I heard this in a podcast or something, but we've all done this thing where we're riding on a bike, right? Or a car, and we're trying to drive between a small space, right? 2 cones, or don't hit the tree, or what, you know what I'm saying? And recently I've been riding a lot of bikes, and I heard on this podcast we always focus on don't hit the cone, don't hit the cone, don't hit the cone. And what happens? You hit the cone.
Cone.
That's all. Again, your brain doesn't hear the don't. So I've recently started really tricking my brain and just focusing on the path. Stay on the path. You know what I'm saying? Keep straight, stay on the path, go in the empty space. Yep. Whatever it is that I need to say that has nothing to do with the cones or the pillars of the tree or whatever. And it works every time. I mean, I don't even waver because I'm not even getting anxious when I approach it. And I think that is such a crazy representation parallel to life of just the do and the don't. And so how can you replace don't eat the brownie with do eat, whatever, the strawberry or whatever, do eat the thing that's good for you or the thing that you're trying to incorporate into your life. Don't call this person because that's a toxic person. Do call this person, there's so many ways that we can do that. And I think society shows us, it's always about bashing the bad thing, right? When in reality, we should just be bringing up the good thing. If we just talk more about the good things, the bad things will never even hit the light of day. Yeah. But we're always wanting to not do something when in reality, it's like, what do you actually want to do? Just highlight that and you won't hit the tree.
That's so true. And I will give just an example before we sign off here. Yeah. This literally happened in the past couple of weeks, especially early on in my pregnancy. And I was feeling so sick, y'all. Bless. I was playing Candy Crush.
I'm so happy.
I was playing Candy Crush hours a day. And I would just listen to podcasts. I mean, I was learning at the same time, but just playing this game out. This has been something, Candy Crush is something I struggle with for a long time. And I go through cycles with it. But recently, instead of being okay, I'm not going to play Candy Crush anymore, I just filled up my time with other things that were more important.
Right.
I started like reading a book. I picked up a book that I really, really love. And now I'm like halfway through the series. I just started adding in more things. Like instead of being like, I'm ripping this thing out of my life, it's still on my phone. I haven't opened it in a couple of days. I've just been busy. Like when I sit down now, that's not the thing that I'm reaching for. And sometimes it takes finding something else you enjoy more,
right,
and doing that instead. We focus again so much on like, what can I rip out? How can I just strip everything? It's like,
that's it.
Decorate your life, babe. Like add
Right.
something else in that's really nice
Yeah.
and enjoyable. Like don't replace a brownie with a fucking celery stick. Like kiss
Yeah.
my ass. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like have a piece of dark chocolate
Totally.
instead. Like,
I mean, when you're making, think of it, it just makes me think when you're making a stew or a soup,
Right.
you're always thinking, what can I add in here? What kind of spice? You're not going to take anything out because once you put it in, there's no taking out.
Right.
You know what I mean? You've done it. So yeah, forget about those things. Like you said, Candy Crush, the brownies, the whatever are going to find their way out of your life when you replace it with things that are good for you and that you actually enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And those things most of the time end up just being buffers.
Mm-hmm.
They're just there as because there's nothing else around,
well,
or because it feels good. But there's other things. That's the thing, is we forget that's not the only thing that feels good.
Right.
I don't know why I keep coming back to that,
mm-hmm.
but I feel like just do some research. Like there's so much more, like you said, adding books into it. You know, now you're addicted to this book series,
mm-hmm.
you know, like you wouldn't have thought about that before if you were not trying to add new things to your life.
Right.
You know, pick up a new hobby, go try a new sport, go join a country club, go do something. I don't know. There's so many things to do. And I think you'll find that when you don't rely on the things you've always done, it'll just shift so much in your life.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I mean,
summary, willpower doesn't work. No.
So willpower doesn't work. Simply stripping things away won't work. Muscling your mind into like bending for you won't work. And it only pits you as the enemy and encourages this idea that you are something that needs to be defeated. You are something that's wrong. You are something that's not functioning. Yeah. And anything forceful and just anything that like she said, puts you against yourself of thinking you're doing it wrong. You should be nurturing yourself. Mm-hmm. You should be making yourself feel good. And telling yourself good things in your head instead of saying you failed today because you did this. Right. So I think just the last word here is like, if you've been thinking like this in the past and this has been you, like, there's just, y'all, you can. There's not something wrong with you. No. There's not a but reason. Also change can happen. Exactly. Like make it like it you are not stuck this way. Right. Like that's what we're trying to explain to you is that whatever you've been doing, I've been doing this for so long, this is how I live now. Mm-hmm. It's like, but it's not though. Like, and I don't care how old you are, if you're 50, 60, 70, it's like, I'm too old to change. Like we just don't live by that reality. We've seen so many people of all ages, all diversities, all races, all whatever. And it doesn't matter. If you want to do something different, you can. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is just the know-how. When you know more, you do more. Yeah. And when you know better, you do better. Exactly. And now you know. That's it. Now you know. Willpower is not the tool that you need to be using and bringing with you in order to affect change. You got to get the strategies. Willpower is what is like sparks under your ass. And then the strategies carry you through. Yeah. And so we hope that this was helpful. Yeah. We're happy to be here together. We're so excited. We've got so much exciting things to share with you guys. We hope you're enjoying this content. And just stay tuned for a lot of really exciting announcements and fun things coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're just really moving forward. We're about to help you really put some of these things that we're saying into action in the new year. So if you're ready to make some of those changes, like comment. Hello. Yeah. Talk to us. Like we're here to help you. We can help you find some answers, get to the next step, whatever that may be. But you got to start. You got to open the door, see what's behind it. Yep. So totally. Awesome. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. This is actually Sunday instead of Monday for us. So have a great week and we'll see you next week. Bye.